So you're going to see all different kinds, hair, styles, change of clothes. This was very difficult for me to film. The questions were not. But I noticed on editing that now in the first part I was missing. Was it the first part I was missing something? Somehow I can't find the questions from Ara, Morgan, Kelly Kimmel, and Sam Lynn. So I'm going to film them. I'm not even sure. I think I got everybody else's. I was just like reviewing for part 2, and I'm like, where are their questions? Because I remember they asked me questions. So I figured I was filming other stuff today, so let's get these answered. For Sam Lynn, I'm a big perfume lover. So my question is, do you have a bigger perfume collection besides what we see on your dresser behind you? And what is your favorite go-to perfume? Yes, I do. They're just the display bottles. The Carolina Herrera shoes. I think, I don't even know what's over there, honestly. A few other perfumes that I do grab for. I think it's Pacifica. And I forget what this N one is. The one next to my little light is Pure Grace. That's my mom's. So that's up here. I love Philosophy's Pure Grace body spritz, but they stopped making it. And I don't have to find... I mean, I like the perfume, but I was going to get a perfume and try to Google how to make a body spritz. What do they add to it to make it this? Because I have the spray bottle. I just don't know, because the perfume obviously is stronger. The body spritz was more light and airy, but the same scent. And I do like that scent. So if not, I'm going to have to maybe pick one of the other ones. I don't think they do the body spritz at all. I was so disappointed because I couldn't find it. And I've looked in all different kinds of places. Like I've even gone into like TJ Maxx and stores like that. Sometimes you'd be surprised what you could find, like sitting on a shelf somewhere. If I saw 4 of them, I would buy 4 of them. I have to find something else, and I don't know. So I basically just keep the heels up. Everything else is in this drawer here, or the end one, I'm sorry. You know, some of my dossiers and things like that, which I like. I like Clinique Happy. You know, like I'm pretty easy with perfume. I just don't like a strong perfume. I don't want you to smell me before I get there, and I don't want my scent lingering behind. I mean, there's nothing worse than that. We've all gotten onto an elevator with somebody with such heavy perfume. That's not how I am. I like light, more on the lighter side. I don't like a lot of woodsy, musky, things like that. But I do, you know, have way more perfume than that. I can't display it all. Then from Kelly Kimmel, my question is, do you have a favorite YouTube channel? And if so, was that what inspired you to start yours? I do have favorite channels that I watch day in and day out without fail. One, not so much anymore because, and it's more of a vlog. You know, when you start to see, and I know everybody changes, and you know, the evolution of time and your situation, you know, you change. Hopefully for the better. And the one channel that I watched every single day in the morning with my coffee, because she uploaded at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., so I'm up early, and I would have coffee and sit and watch her video. And I would watch, you know, a 45, 50-minute video with no problem straight through. I just can't anymore. I mean, I never realized that she's like, I don't know how to say this. I still want to be kind. You know, I don't want to be totally mean. I'm trying to think of the word. Like, she's always preaching. Right there, you lose me. Lately, preaching. That's not why I watch your vlog. Watch a vlog, like a family vlog. You know, a daily vlog of you, you know, prepping food and baking and doing things like that. I don't need to be preached at. If I want to be preached at, I'll go to church. I'll put on a sermon. There's plenty of ways. I choose not to do that in YouTube videos. And it seems like it's a lot more and more and more and more. And I'm like, enough. And then like, and I guess I know I've changed over the last year. I'm just looking at her differently, and I just see like a falsehood. Like that's not who she is. It's just not. I mean, so many things that she says are so incorrect, and some are safety concerns. And I'm like, what? And she is the type of YouTuber that if you post anything, and I'm not going to say to criticize, but to bring awareness to her that what she did or said was like, maybe not what she should have researched it a little bit. I mean, she'll delete your comment, whatever, which is fine. I don't care. You can delete comments. I don't comment often anyway. And she was talking and recently, I'll give you an example, like if you have a grease fire, to throw a towel on it. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So what you're going to do is you're supposed to extinguish a fire, not fuel a fire. And I had to comment because, she's putting it out there. She has 140 some thousand subscribers. And she probably, I don't know how many, she gets several thousand views. They're seeing this, and could they possibly do that? And I was like, no, she will never. And I did comment. I was just like, oh my goodness, like no, no, and no, ever. And I even said not even a wet towel, because a wet towel, you're putting water on a grease fire, which is a big no-no. If you look at like any fire departments, like safety regs, baking soda, she did say that, and I said in my comment, started out positive, like I agree wholeheartedly with baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda. There's a difference. Soda will put it out. Baking powder could fuel it a little bit. The components are different in baking powder and baking soda. But they tell you like a cookie sheet, a baking pan, anything that can smother it, that can seal a pan. Like let's say you have a frying pan on the stove, and it ignites. I mean, it could happen. I mean, everybody's, you're careful. Sometimes you're so busy, you're doing 10 different things. Yeah, something could happen. A lid, just take the air out of it and it'll go out. She also said something about, if you have a toaster fire, she said, if you can unplug it. I don't see why you couldn't unplug it unless it's so far out of control that you can't get to the plug. Okay. But she said, throw a towel on top of a toaster. And I'm like, I don't think my option would be to throw a towel on any fire. Now, if there's a fire in your home and you're worried about smoke, yeah, wet a towel, wet clothing, and breathe through the wet. It will help stop the smoke inhalation. Yeah, there's definitely that. But I don't think I would ever put anything on a fire that would fuel a fire. Now, I know in that instant, you're not thinking, but that's why you need to know fire safety prior to anything happening into your home. And I didn't really say anything about the whole toaster comment. I kind of let it slide because it sort of went in the same line. No, don't grab a towel, your kitchen towel, and to put out a fire, and a grease fire to boot. And she uses her small, like Fry Daddy grease, deep fryer in her kitchen sink. She'll put it. Like she think that's going to stop the mess from getting anywhere. Does she understand that the grease and the smoke goes up into the air and is settling everywhere, regardless if you put it in your sink or if you just put it on your countertop? And she'll run the water and rinse stuff and I'm like, oh Lord, please God, like stop. But if you say anything, she's like, nah, it's okay. And she'll laugh about it. And I'm like, that's not funny. I mean, I think her and her family need to take a fire safety class with their local fire department down in Florida and get it right with that and stop telling people wrong information. And that's what I've been noticing a lot lately. I think she puts on pretenses now for whatever reason. She always bragged about, filming all day. You're just not getting little clips here and there. And I don't like that. And I'll never do that. Well, that's what she's doing now. And so it's like, why am I watching this? like I'm getting annoyed because it's bad information, it's wrong, harmful information. You can just see that the falseness and the you know, just her not being that wholesome real person anymore. So I stopped watching her. But she was my favorite channel. I watched it every single day, Monday through Friday. She doesn't film for Saturday unless something is going on, you know, in their family, and she might do Saturday. And Sunday she does, you know, worship stuff, which is fine. Reads the Bible, check. That's fine. I don't watch that on Sunday because that's not what excuse me, that's not what I'm interested in. But she's, like I said, she's getting too preachy in her every day. You know, I don't need that. So she was, I'm not going to tell you who it is. She was my favorite channel, but I don't watch her anymore. I do watch a few beauty channels. I don't watch a lot of beauty channels because, do I really need to? Yeah, I do support a few people because, you know, I always have supported them. I got something in my eye. But, and do I watch like Kelly Strack, and if I can catch Jen Love, or Jen Loves, I'm not sure how her goes, or Tati, for like the bigger ones. And then, you know, I watch a few other, you know, probably 2 or 3 other beauty channels. You know, when I see that they have videos, if I get a notification, you know, I will make note of it and, you know, watch their stuff. I usually do a lot of that either in the morning or in the evening. During the day, I don't really get too much time with that. But I also don't, I love to watch, there's a couple channels from like the UK and New Zealand that are more, believe it or not, like camping. It's just very relaxed. It's like the hike in, the setup, you know, just conversation, you know, silliness and being serious, and just the whole, you know, sleeping there and sometimes more than one night, and them cooking food. And I just find that interesting. I find it very relaxing. I love to watch them in the evening because it is very relaxing. So there's a gentleman up in Canada. I guess Canada's still Newfoundland, right? Is that still Canada? Yeah. Up in those areas, Nova Scotia, trying to think, Central West Territory. I'm not sure what that is in Canada, but there's several. And, you know, I love watching like food vlogs and food review channels. It's just interesting to see, you know, people's style of videoing and what they're doing. And, you know, some of those people I've been following for a long time. They're just lighthearted, you know, nothing serious about it. And that's in the evening is what I like. And I like that in the morning too, to start the day. Just roll into it slow. Nice, peaceful, calm. No me getting aggravated. Because if I'm getting aggravated first thing in the morning, it's going to carry. It just is. And I don't want that. Here, Miss Oreo is right here. She's ready to sleep. Girl, you want to come? So that is that. And nobody really did I watch prior to me starting. So nobody was like an inspiration to get me started on YouTube. Next is Morgan. What is your favorite thing to do in the spring? What's your favorite mascara brand? Mascara, I would probably say like Benefit, MAC. I love their brands, their mascara. Favorite thing to do in the spring is just get outside after being stuck in the house all winter. You know, we're having some nice weather, but the air's still too chilly. So to get out and do too much, no, it's too cold still. Hopefully soon in the next week or two, you know, start to get the gardens ready and, you know, like clean everything up from the winter, you know, any excess leaves, or if things need to be like trimmed up a little bit. I noticed today that some of my flowers that come back every year are starting to green up at the bottom already. So, you know, just trying to neaten all that up for, you know, and then I usually just plant a few like brighter pops of color. I have a lot of annuals. Are they annuals or perennials? I think perennials come back every year. So just get all that stuff ready. And then she, you know, was like, yeah, warm weather is going to bring all the allergies. Oh yeah. Some days, you know, that it's been warm and I'm starting to see things start to bloom already. I'm like, oh, here we go. Last couple years, we're not fun for me when it came to that. Like, I never had allergies, but definitely have them now. The next one is from Aura. What is your favorite perfume? I did say that Philosophy's Pure Grace. And, you know, I have a few. I just, if I'm in the house, am I putting perfume on? Maybe. I know if I shower in the evening, I would use the body spritz. It's just, you know, clean, fresh smell, and it just, you made yourself smell good before you went to bed. You know, if I was getting dressed to go out, yes, I put perfume on. If I'm staying in the house, I'm not wasting it. I do have quite a few. They're mainly in this drawer, and I just keep a few of, you know, the Carolina Herrera, Good Girl. Is that Good Girl or Bad Girl? Good Girl, I think. Up, and a few others. One of my mom's perfumes up. So, you know, I can't put them all up. I would. That's why I put the brushes away, just to minimalize. The next question is from Tina. What was the box you opened that you thought of? No, that, wait, let me get this, figure this out. What was the box you opened that you thought of, I can do this on YouTube? Was that the one? No, I'm so sorry. I am not reading this question properly. So let's answer the first part. What was the first? What was the box you opened that you thought, I can do this on YouTube? IPSY and BoxyCharm. They were the first. You know, I did get Walmart prior to that. And that got me intrigued. Like, I was always excited when that box was coming. So I'm thinking, well, what else is out there? There has to be more than just Walmart. Like, I had Target beauty boxes there for a while too, but not Target at first. It was Walmart. And then I did some searching. I think that's when I went to YouTube to start looking around and saw IPSY and BoxyCharm. So then I started getting them. I think I got 1 month that I did not film. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. Filmed it. And, you know, I didn't know how to do all that. Like, I didn't know how to take a video because we took videos, you know, family videos and videos on vacation and stuff. So I filmed it. I was off camera. I did not come on camera in the beginning because I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. Now, you know, once you get in front of the camera, game changer. You're done. Like, so I started filming. I didn't know how to edit. So it was like one shot, one take, which was no problem. And I would upload it, which I didn't know how to do. I had to find videos to how do you upload to YouTube and following the instructions and upload it and start everything. And then after a while, you know, get the hang of it. And I did find a few channels back then that would help you with that kind of stuff. If you had questions, if you had concerns on like certain hashtags and using the @ sign and just all this stuff. And it was very helpful and useful. They're no longer a channel, sadly, because they had such great information to always share about things you were doing on your channel. They would review your channel every once in a while. If you, like, they would spin the wheel or something, and if your channel was chosen, they would quickly review it and be like, you know, maybe if you change this, it would draw more, or they would, like, read your description. It was very helpful. It was never negative. It was always positive and upbeat, and they really wanted to help. And, you know, they started getting a lot of people reporting them for whatever reason. And I think they, you know, had some issues, you know, within their family and within their business, because I think they were photographers or videographers outside of YouTube. And I don't even see them anymore on doing anything. I mean, they still might on like Insta or stuff like that. I have to check TikTok. I haven't really searched around TikTok looking for people. But, so I would say IPSY and BoxyCharm for that. Now, let me try to figure out what your other question was, Tina. What is that one box you will never give up? Oh, okay. I was like, man, why can't I figure that out? The one box that I would never give up was BoxyCharm. I miss BoxyCharm. Maybe not so much the base box, premium and luxe. My favorite box of all time, and BoxyCharm still is my favorite, and I won't give it up. I would pass on the glam bag before I would give up BoxyCharm. I'm not sure if on my other, because I have clips. I'm not sure if I got all these questions, so I'm just going to run through all the questions and then save the last 2 questions for a separate clip, and then I'll just cut it together. This is from Mary B. Glad, let me see. The day that I posted this, we had a major snowstorm. It was white out. You know, it was different. So she's like, glad you made it home. Let me just see. But she wants to know, any vacation plans this year? Probably not like vacation. I'm a dog owner. I don't leave, you know, I don't really have people to leave my dog with for extended periods of time. And I don't board or kennel or have anybody watch, you know, my animals. I take care of them. That's just how I am. Maybe someday I will get to do a few things that I want to do. You know, Oreo is very dependent on me. She's, like I joke around, she's my emotional support dog, and I'm her emotional support human. She's with me all the time. I mean, she follows me around. Like right now, I'm sitting here, she's like half falling asleep, but she's, every once in a while, opening her eyes. Are you still here? Today I had to run out, and she was in my kitchen, and I could hear the whimpering and the howling and the barking. She doesn't want to be, and she was home by herself. She's not used to being home alone because there was always somebody here. But, you know, life goes on for that. And I couldn't take her because I'm in and out, and I won't leave a dog in a car if I'm going in somewhere. So, you know, maybe someday, you know, I'm hoping to at least knock something out, maybe at some point over the next several months, heading down south to visit a couple people, so that, you know, that might happen. And next is from Carolyn Parker. Where were you born? I was raised in Pennsylvania. And she said, I know you have a daughter. Is she your only child? I'm so sorry. My mouth is so dry. I do not have any children. I don't know if over the time, Carolyn's been here a long time, like if I said, you know, my baby or she, I'm always referring to my dogs. Bad habit. I'm a dog mom. But no children and no daughter. Nieces and nephews, but no daughter. And I think the last 2 questions are from Trisha and Janet. Janet did, oh no, I have one more. It's Ale Marie, A-L-E Marie. She asked about hobbies. I have mentioned hobbies through part 1, part 2. Too many to mention again, but I at least wanted to recognize your question. I think that might be it. Janet was and I'll get to Janet when I, do Trisha and Janet's questions. So I will come back in a separate clip with their questions. The rest of this I will hit on. Janet, you know, basically, you know, started with, I know you've had a lot of personal loss in the last few years, and just wanted to, like, basically know how I'm doing. And there are the last questions, I do believe. Yeah. Okay. So I'll come out. Family. I have an older brother, myself. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. Are we young? No. This is running today. You know, we are all close. We get along well. We don't see each other a lot. It's because everybody, you know, my older brother lives about an hour away. You know, he works. You know, my sister is in her house, and me and my brother see each other, you know, obviously all the time. And then I have Oreo. So that's, you know, basically it. In July of 2023, my youngest niece, who was 28, passed away from a blood clot, and that was very difficult. Still is. Life altering, life shattering, the shock, and I have a tissue because I knew that I was gonna, you know, that I was gonna need it. You know, even still to this day, talking about it is just sad. You know, she was a young girl with lots of dreams and didn't get to, you know, fulfill them. And that's one of the sad things. Her name was Nicole. Extremely talented girl. She went to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. Got a great education. She was a phenomenal, more than phenomenal photographer. It was just in her. She could look at something and take photos of it, and, it was just a building. To her, it wasn't. The angle that she photographed it, and, maybe the time of day. And I know all that plays a factor, but she just had a God-given talent for that. And, every Christmas, we got calendars from all her pictures that she took, her 12 favorite for that year. Her favorite photos, she'd make calendars for everybody. I have saved every one that I ever received from her, and will always keep them. I had always thought one day I would frame them and put them in the hallway or on a wall. I might still do that because I have them all. And but right now they're safe and secure, and I won't get rid of them ever. And I'm not a collector. I don't save stuff like that, but that is very sentimental to me. And even prior to her passing away, I always kept them. So that was tragic, extremely tragic. My sister and my brother-in-law and my older niece, even more tragic, because it was their daughter, her sister. Yes, while I was aunt, grandmother, uncle, stuff like that. It was devastating to all of us, but obviously more devastating to them, because that was, my sister gave birth to her. It was her child she had to bury. And, same thing with my brother-in-law, you should never have to bury your child. So, that was very difficult. And life became more difficult. My mom, who was 93 at the time, never got beyond it, that her granddaughter was gone. And my mom, God rest her soul, went downhill so fast. And she was my rock. I took care of her the last 9 months of her life. And towards the very end, fought for her in the hospital. She was in the hospital, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in that 9-month period, and fought for her every time, in there. One admission, screaming and yelling at a doctor and a nurse, and just basically, I guess having a little bit of medical knowledge, working in a hospital for a long time, and just knowing, watching the mistakes. And I'm thinking, my gosh, if, so many patients don't have family that visit. I was, they probably thought, oh, how sweet, her daughter comes to sit every day, and her son comes in the evening, and her other son, and stuff like that. We would go and sit with her. But they had to report back to me when I wasn't there, because I wanted to know, what was her, what are they giving her? What was her pressure? What was her this? What was, this way I could mentally keep track of it. And, I got a hold of that doctor the last day she was being discharged on the one admission, and just ripped her apart. I was like, this is a disgrace. The medical system is a disgrace. Didn't tell her she was a disgrace, but I kind of think she got the gist of that because of all the mistakes that were made. And, of course, her nurse at the time was a nurse of 20 plus years. Thought it would be a wise idea to cop an attitude with me. And I'm looking, yeah, biggest mistake of her life, because I take no prisoners. I don't take any crap from anybody. I don't care if you're a doctor, a nurse, if you're whoever. And she tried to tell me that I've been a nurse for 23 years and I care and blah, blah, blah. And I said, it doesn't make you a good nurse. And she looked at me. I said, it's called retirement. There comes a point in your career where you have to retire because you don't care. She was more concerned with not discharging a patient so she didn't have to get an admission. And that set me on a course that I probably would have put my hands on her throat. I have restraint and would never do that, but I thought about it. I could have put my hands around her throat and not cared. Just was, and then one admission, my mom was very confused. She had kidney failure, very confused, didn't know who she was, didn't know who we were. You know, it was not good. I had, you know, I had her medical power of attorney, so I had to make decisions for her. And thank God her kidney doctor, her nephrologist, was a phenomenal older woman doctor, and just had conversations with her about her care and stuff like that, and was on top of it. And, you know, just the battles of just constantly having to watch. Like, if her sugar is too high, and I would look at the IV pole and think that IV fluids is full of sugar. Like, replace it with a non-sugared IV fluids. Like, I know the IV fluid system. I know the different kinds of, and I would say that, and I'd be like, why are you giving her so much glucose, so much sugar in her fluids if you're trying to combat her high sugars with insulin? I would rather you not give her insulin and lower the, you know, and then they were like, yeah, and you know, and I had, you know, doctors come in and they're looking at their papers. Well, you know, your mother is diabetic. And I'd be like, no, she is not. Well, it says right here. And I said to one doctor, and I could care less. I told him, put your papers down. Stop reading from your paper. The patient is right there. I am the daughter, and I'm telling you she's not, you know, it was just a battle. Like, to the point of exhaustion battle. Always glad when she could come home, because I'm like, oh my God, I can take better care of you at home. Nobody's going to harm you here. She had wonderful doctors. Her cardiologist, her primary care doctor, trusted me in my knowledge base and how I was caring for my mom, that I was taking her vital signs 3-4 times a day, giving her her meds properly, contacting her cardiologist if her blood pressure would be out of line. He gave me parameters. You know, if it gets to this point, give her an entire pill for her blood pressure meds. If it's in here, just give her half. If you think it's too low, don't give her any. Like, and then, like, I would catch him up a few days later. Her primary care doctor was the same way. I could just quick send him an email through their, you know, their email system. I could call and, you know, like, have a lab come in and draw blood work. Like, she hasn't had blood work tested. I don't know what's going on. I can't see what's going on in her body. Just things of that nature. Home care. PT coming in the house. Occupational therapy coming in. I would do it all over again and, you know, cared for her. She just wanted to enjoy Christmas. My mom loved Christmas. And normally we would go to my sister's. Obviously that was not going to happen last year because, you know, my mom could not leave the house. She could barely get down one level of stairs, let alone get in a car, go to my sister's. It would have been way too much. So everybody came here. We had a nice dinner. They got to visit with their grandma, my niece, and her husband, and everybody got to sit and chat. And just, I said, look, you guys visit with her and enjoy. I get to see her every day. So, you know, like, I helped with the prep. My niece and her husband did a lot of the cooking, and I cleaned up and then did the dishes after. I'm like, go enjoy her because I see her every day. You guys don't. My niece does not live in Pennsylvania, you know, here for the holiday. You know, go enjoy her because I, you know, I don't need to sit there and talk to her. I can do that anytime. But that was important for my mom to get to Christmas and enjoy Christmas. I think after Christmas she kind of gave up because she, you know, she just didn't have the fight left. She wound up in the hospital once again in March because she had cellulitis. She could have had sepsis at that point a little bit, which will take you out of this world if it's not treated. And even sometimes it's treated, it's too late, and, you know, you could pass away from that. She did okay in there, was in the hospital a week, came home on Wednesday evening. I had one day with her. Okay, so I'm going to be, like, cutting and pasting videos together. I think I filmed some of this 2 and 3 times and, like, watched it, and I'm like, it just was making no sense, and it was confusing for me, and I lived it. So, I think in the last clip, I was, like, telling you, you know, my mom was in the hospital. She was discharged on Wednesday evening. She was home one day, Thursday, you know, not her best day, but she was still upbeat. She was tired. You know, she was very weak. You know, did everything like normal, like we always did on a day-to-day basis. and, you know, got her all ready for bed later that night, and, you know, tucked her in, made sure she had her meds, and did she have an extra water, because she always had water or something, a few little snacks, you know, cookies, things like that, and she had them in a container, and she would keep at her bedside if she wanted them, and, you know, went to bed. It was probably, I don't even know what time it was. It was probably like 11, 12 o'clock. You know, I'm exhausted. Got her in bed. I think I came up, got changed into PJs, and I don't know if I watched any videos or anything like that. I was just probably so exhausted, went to sleep. And, you know, my mom was typical for waking me up at, you know, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier, if she needed me, if she wanted her coffee, or she wanted tea, or, you know, just whatever. I would hear her, and, you know, things like that, so I would get up, because I knew, you know, she wouldn't, unless she really needed me, would not wake me up. She would let me sleep, you know, till a decent time. You know, if it was only 5, she might let me sleep a little, things like that, you know. And all of a sudden, I woke up on Friday morning, and I looked at my clock, and it was 8 o'clock, and it was a little before 8, I think. And I was like, whoa, like, I can't believe I slept till 8 o'clock. And I'm like, how come she didn't, like, at that point, I think she would have, you know, woken me up. And I'm not a sound sleeper. I'm still not a sound sleeper. I always, one ear to the door, one eye open, you know, things like that type of sleeper, you know, because I never knew if she was going to need help getting up, getting to the bathroom, things like that. And literally woke up in a panic when I saw the time. I was like, oh, and I could have fallen down the steps, broken my neck, for all, you know, I knew. I think I skipped 3 or 4 of the steps and just like jumped down and went to my mom's room, and she was gone. You know, it's, no matter how many times I film this, it's still very sad to me. You know, she was gone. I, you know, verified that, you know, that there was no pulse and she was gone. You still have to call 911, just in case anybody doesn't know that. You still have to call 911. You need paramedics, regardless. They have to call the time of death. You can't call a doctor and be like, oh, you know, no, you still have to do that through police and fire. You know, they came, and, you know, we're only probably less than 5 minutes from, you know, firehouse where there's paramedics and, you know, fire department and so forth. Police station's not that far either. And, you know, I could hear them coming, and I, you know, have to secure the dogs, because they, you know, they're coming in and out the door. And my dogs wouldn't go out the door, but, you know, you still have to secure them. So I'm like panicking, like, quick, get them in a room, close the door, and, you know, open the front door. And I ran back, you know, to be with my mom. And, you know, they come in, and, you know, the whole process of that day started. That was March 29th, which last year was Good Friday. You know, my mom was a very religious person, and she left us on Good Friday. And here comes Oreo again. So all she wants to do is be on my lap. And because she knows I'm getting upset. I'm telling you, these dogs are so smart. It's okay. You can lay down. It's okay, Mama. You can stay right there and lay down. Lay down. And, you know, had to go through all that. And, which was hard. You know, they ask you 50 million questions, and I'm like, you know, like, I was just like, I am now. I'm like, what? And, you know, like, and they were very sweet. Like, we understand, but we need to ask these questions. We have paperwork to fill out. And I'm like, I get it. And she wants to sit on my lap. So, you know, it wasn't a problem, and taking care of, you know, answering all the questions. You know, you get police come. They have to make sure that everything is above board, which, you know, I understand all that process too. And then, you know, the fire department, you know, obviously the fire truck actually comes with, you know, the paramedics, just in case. And the fire department left, and paramedics were here for a little bit. And then, they leave, and the police were here for a little bit, and they have questions they have to ask you. They need to look around and, make sure everything's above board, and that it was, my mom was 93, and that, everything was good there. And, they leave. And then I'm here all by myself. I mean, my mom was here, my dogs were here, but, I'm here alone, and I'm like, oh. Like, then it hit even harder. Called my sister. She was asleep. Her husband answered, told him, and, he had to tell his wife, my sister had to tell his wife. Called my older brother. He lives about 45 to an hour away. Call him. He, left immediately to come. And then the issue came with my younger brother. Truck driver for the post office. He was in Connecticut at that time of the morning. And I knew where he was at any given point of the day. Like, I knew at noon he would be, I think it was noon, 11:30, 12 o'clock, somewhere around there, he would be in Belmar, New Jersey. He had a stop there. So I knew what time he stopped there. I didn't know what time he left there, but I knew what time he stopped there. I knew basically how long it took from point A, from where he started, to Connecticut. And I was, like, trying to think, okay, if he leaves at 3, 4 a.m., like, where would he be at this point in time? And he still was in Connecticut. And I had to call him. He's driving a tractor trailer to give that kind of news to, to a son, to your brother, that your mother just passed away. And he was more concerned for me. And I'm like, I get it. But I knew it was going to be that way, that I would be alone with her when it happened. And maybe that was just destined to be that way. I don't know. Tried calling my mom. We were all Catholic. My mom was Catholic. Tried calling our parish for last rites. And couldn't get a hold of anybody at our parish. I mean, we called, when my sister got here, my brother got here, and 2 of our neighbors' children got here. They're, our age and stuff like that. They came immediately, and they tried calling. We must have placed 80, 90 calls to the parish. I mean, I can't tell you how many I placed before anybody got here. I wanted her to have last rites. She deserved last rites, and she would want them. And we couldn't get a hold of anyone. Couldn't get a hold of anyone. Couldn't get a hold of anyone. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, well, I know it's Good Friday, and if they're doing, if they're in church, they're not in the rectory, they're in church because they're preparing for Mass or saying Mass. I get it, but somebody should be answering the phone. Finally, we called a neighboring parish and got a hold of, a priest there. And he was like, well, technically, you're not in my parish. And we explained, we've been 80, 90 plus calls to our parish and we're not getting anyone. And he's like, no problem. And he literally, he didn't have to do it. I mean, did he have to do it? Yeah, he kind of had to. But I guess he could have made a phone call to our parish and had somebody, come. But he came within 5 minutes. I mean, when I say 5 minutes, and that parish is not 5 minutes from my house. But it's not far. We're on the border of the parish that we belong to, and then the next parish over. And doorbell rang, and I'm like, who is that? And I opened the door, and it was the priest, and I was like, oh my Lord. I'm like, I didn't say that, but I was just like, oh, thank you, Father, for coming, and so quickly. And I mean, he must have obviously been up and things like that, and just got in his vehicle, GPSed our location, our address, and was here immediately to give my mom last rites. But it took, trying to think how long. Do you see her just jump off of me? Because she's like, I'm done. I'm trying to think how long it took. It took a while before, because we kept on trying our own parish. I mean, I just, I had visiting nurses coming that day for my mom. I had to quick call them to cancel that. I just didn't want people coming, ringing it. I'm like, oh, we're here. And I'd be like, oh, no, stop doing that kind of stuff. And, just deciding on, final arrangements and who do we call. And then it was, we have to take care of this with the church. And, my one friend was going to literally drive to the church and the rectory where the priests are and be like, nobody's answering your phone. And I was like, no, you know, we'll get somebody. And then it was a few hours later, and then we had him come, who was such a sweet, sweet man. So grateful for him. And he came and he gave my mother last rites. And, you know, we had the option of using our parish at her funeral. And I said, absolutely not. And we used the neighboring parish priest that came and gave my mother last rites. He spoke at my mom's, you know, funeral and was there at the cemetery and things like that. And it was, trying to think, was it the day of, I think it was the day of my mom's funeral. I was just having a conversation with him at the cemetery as everybody was pulling up and, you know, getting out of their cars. And it was a little chilly that day, you know, coats and stuff like that. And he was obviously at the graveside. And I just, you know, stood there and was talking to him and things like that. And that's when he told me that there's never a mass said on Good Friday. It's the only day of the year that there is no mass, no Catholic mass. Every other day of the year, there's a mass at a certain time every day. And, you know, obviously Christian holidays, you know, they do some, in our parish, they would do 2 or 3 services, sometimes 4, you know, like Easter Sunday and things like that. But Good Friday, he's like, there's never mass on Good Friday. I was livid. And he said, I couldn't tell you. But he wanted to tell me, and he told me that day. He's like, I couldn't tell you. He said, because I knew how angry you were. Because you couldn't get a hold of your own parish. And I was like, well, of course I'm angry because I couldn't get a hold of my own parish. And so, you know, I'm grateful he said something to me because I look at my own parish differently. I'm grateful for him that he, you know, did everything that was needed to be done for my mom. And, but every once in a while, you know, you still get things in the mail and from your parish. And, you know, we just like right in the recycle bin or right in the trash. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done, done, and done. There's no reason why they shouldn't be answering a phone. That's part of their responsibility. You know, we've been in this parish a long, long, long time. And I've never been so disappointed. I was just like, wow. But grateful also because, you know, he was wonderful. He spoke wonderful and just was very kind, which, you know, some priests are not. He was wonderful. And then we had to go to that rectory, to that parish, and meet with him. He needed information. You know, he has to speak about my mom, and he never met my mom. So, you know, we had to give him certain information and things like that, and have people, you know, get up and say, you know, some of the prayers. And my oldest niece gave the eulogy. None of us could. I mean, there's no way I could have spoken. She spoke so eloquently and so kindly, and I know she loved her grandmom, so like she said, hopefully I never have to do this again. And she's like, don't ask me to do this again. And it just was a tough, it was probably, was it a week? Yeah, it was a week between the time my mom passed and her funeral, because it was Friday. The next following Friday, she was buried. That day where there's always like some kind of irony and or something that makes you chuckle. You know, it was a tough week. Don't get me wrong. Very tough week. But you know, you have to put your big boy pants on, and you got to do what you, big girl panties, and you got to do what you got to do. You know, things needed to be done. Had to start making phone calls because, you know, you need to get things moving. And I did that for many, many weeks after also, you know, with my mom's estate. But the day of her funeral, we're in the funeral home, and everything was pretty much over in the funeral home, getting ready to close it up there and move to the cemetery. There was an earthquake, and we just were like, oh my goodness, like, okay, Mom, is that you letting us know, like, good job, or what, or you made it, you're in heaven, and like, who knows? But, you know, we did chuckle, and I don't think any of us will ever forget that. I mean, I had people texting me afterwards that were there Like, do you realize that was an earthquake? I'm like, yeah, it was an earthquake. And like, they laughed because they were like, they knew my mother. And they were like, oh, we're not surprised. And so, all that over with. And just in life in general, everybody returns to their lives, to their normal routines, to be expected, right? And then it was just me here. It was like, that was an eye-opener. That was a shock. I had nothing to do. I didn't know what to do with myself. I would just walk around and walk around, make another cup of coffee, walk around, let the dogs out, walk around, have another cup of coffee. I mean, I was drinking so much coffee. Unbelievable. I was like, oh my gosh, this is way too much coffee. And I did kick that back. A couple cups of coffee is fine, but I was like, 8-10 cups of coffee a day just to function. And just, I was lost. I just didn't know what was my purpose. What was I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to not be doing? And I find that when I need to busy my mind and busy myself, I need to do something. So I started, I love doing jigsaw puzzles. So I was just ordered a whole bunch of jigsaw puzzles from Amazon. They came obviously very quickly, and was doing 2 and 3 jigsaw puzzles a week, 1,000-piece puzzles, set them up on the table, and would just stand there for hours and hours and hours. And then I'd walk away and, go have lunch or, feed the dogs at dinner time or this and that, and go back to the puzzle. And in 2 days, 2.5 days, I would finish a puzzle. I'd leave it on the table for a day or so and be like, oh, that looks cute. And then I'd break it all down, put it back in the box. And I have a donate pile, obviously. Everything, everything was already donated. All my mom's stuff was taken care of in the first, couple months. But I was doing puzzles, so I was just adding puzzles to the pile. And then I would open up the next one and put all the border pieces together and then start doing the puzzle, 2 to 3 a week. I had a stack of puzzles. After a few months, I was like, okay, I'm puzzled out. Like, let's get back. I was still doing YouTube. I don't think I was doing 4 videos a week. I don't even know what I was doing back then. I would have to go back and look. My heart wasn't in it. I know that. It just was a very difficult time. And it still is. Especially since it is March. And the 29th is approaching. Right? It's mid-March already. And that's going to be a sad day. To be the first year that she's not been with us. My mom would have been 94 in the beginning of May, so she didn't make it to that. She wasn't here for Mother's Day. She wasn't here for, my birthday, which is in September. She wasn't here for Thanksgiving. She wasn't here for Christmas. So, all those firsts were last year. I think they're the hardest. Now it's here's the 1-year anniversary of her passing. So that's going to be difficult. When her birthday rolls around, it's going to be a sad day. Mother's Day, same thing, but it's not the first. So hopefully it's a little easier. You miss your loved ones. She was my rock. She was my world. I did everything for her that I possibly could. And she did everything she could do to help me along the way, too. And I always promised her that I would take care of her. That she would never wind up in a nursing home, never wind up in any type of facility. She would always come back to her home. And that I would be the one, God willing, as long as I was able, I would take care of her. And I did. I fulfilled that promise to her. The last night that she was here, she was not really confused, but not 100%, in her right mind, and that I was used to, and she just wanted to make sure she was home. She was just in the hospital, so she knew that. She was home a day, but she, am I home? Am I home? she didn't know, because she's like, I know this is too much for you, because, that my back was not great. I know this is too much for you. It's okay to put me in a home. And I said, absolutely not. Like, if I have to crawl to get you something, I'm going to crawl. I will. No. I promised that I would take care of you and that you would be in your home, that you were not going to a facility. I see how people are cared for, even in a regular hospital, let alone at home. Absolutely not. And yeah, she's over there playing with her paws. She had asked me, like, am I home? And I'm like, yes, Mom, you're home. Oreo, no. Over here. Come on. And basically the last thing that I said to her, come on. Do you want a treat? Okay, then you have to be a good girl. You have to be a good girl if you want a treat. Okay. So, life has been hard. She had to go outside. I'm like, come on, I'm right in the middle of refilming this for like the 15 millionth time. So, life has been difficult. I am here most of the time by myself, and it gets lonely, and you walk around and it's like, oh, my mom's room is still pretty much the way it was. I did go through early on, probably mid-May or May-ish or something like that. I said, I'm going to go through her clothes, because I knew a good majority of them could be donated, and her shoes and some of her bags that she had. And, she had so many pairs of pajama bottoms and pajamas that she never even wore. So much that I could donate. And I figured, you know what, if I don't do it now, I am like a pull the Band-Aid right off type of person. Tough love person. Just rip the Band-Aid off. And I'm like, if I don't do it now, I'll never be able to do it. And I knew that. And the clothes weren't as difficult, opening up, and all her makeup and her hair stuff. And, that was difficult, because that was, obviously that was my mom too. The clothes, I did keep some things, this is my mom's jacket, her fleece jacket. It hangs downstairs if you need something to run out the door. And so I had this on, comfort things. I have, obviously I have her t-shirt, and I do wear that occasionally, not often. And there's just, there's some things of hers that, like, she always wore a cardigan. Even if she just had, like, on pajama bottoms and a pajama top, she always had a cardigan on. She was always cold. Like, I can never get rid of that cardigan. It's still on the side of her chair, hanging off, like, the back end of the chair. Like, her blankets and all that. And at that point, we had a hospital bed. So, her bed had to be moved out, put in the spare room in the hospital. So I had to get rid of the hospital bed. And I'm like, I want her bed put back in her room. I just wanted it to look like her room again. So that's all back in there, made the bed. Sometimes I go in there and, I sit in the chair where she always was. It's still very difficult. But she's in a better place. I know that she's not suffering, because she was starting to, and she just didn't have the will. She just couldn't fight anymore. And she knew I wanted her to fight. And she, she told me, she said, I just can't. I just don't have the strength to do it. And, like, what am I going to tell her? Don't give up. I mean, it was her time. She was 93. She was almost 94. So she's with my dad. She's with my niece, her granddaughter. Her brothers are there, and all of her family. Her sister, my aunt, is still alive. She's in her 80s. I think 80s, right? 90? I don't even know how old she is, honestly. And she lives in Florida, so she's still with us. But a lot of other relatives are all gone ahead of her. Cousins and things like that are still, obviously here. But she's at peace, and she's with people that she's missed, like her parents and, my dad and stuff like that. And I know she was very close with her brothers, but her one brother she was extremely close with.
And so she's finally with him, and whatever they're doing, they're doing. Um, and like I said, life goes on. It was a lot of settling in a state with a lot of work, and it's just about coming up on a year, and it's almost done. Takes a while. Not something that happens overnight. You have to. It seems like, especially in the city I live in, a slow process. Costs a lot of money to do it, but it is what it is. But I know Janet, had asked, like how I was doing, like physically. Okay, back is much better. Foot's better today. Mentally, I am stronger. Might not seem it, but I am stronger. It's funny how certain people cross your path when they're supposed to. And, I've had people cross my path that have brought joy back for me and made me realize that there's people that still love you out there, and there's more to life than just, you can't live in the past. You have to continue with your life. And I'm trying to do that. I don't know what's going to happen in my lifetime. Where I'll live. Am I going to stay here? Am I going to, I would love to do a few things still while you don't know. Nobody knows what tomorrow will bring while I can. I am healthy otherwise. My back is not an issue per se anymore. And I don't take medications. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have this. I don't have that. I am a healthy individual, so, I try to eat right and keep my weight down so that, I don't wind up with, tons and tons of problems. And, I try to get the proper amount of sleep. I go to bed relatively early compared to some people, and I'm up early. Wasn't always the case, but, I try to be consistent. I just try to, go through the day, keep myself busy, do what I need to do, run errands, food, go grocery shopping, take care of my puppies. I lost Patches in December. She crossed the Rainbow Bridge. She never got over losing my mom. She was my dog. But for quite a few years there, she always stayed with my mother during the day. She would always be at her feet. She'd follow her wherever she went. And at that point, I'm trying to think initially, she was sleeping with my mom. And then, I don't know when it was. Oh, I couldn't even tell you a point. She would still stay with my mom during the day, but at nighttime she wanted to come and sleep with me and come up with me. So I'd be like, okay, like she's coming back to me. She got very jealous when I brought Oreo into the house. And, I was like, well, you were a rescue and you got a good home, and she needed a good home way more than you did. And, it's just like, Patches was very territorial when Oreo first came. Oreo's very timid. Patches was not. Very calm, sweet, I never saw her teeth. Unless I was looking at them. She never bit, growled. she just was not that kind. She just was a sweet dog. Oreo's the same way. Oreo, and they both played as puppies and all that kind of stuff. Oreo's more, even though she's older, still more like puppy-like, where Patches got to be more old lady-like. I don't know, like, you're such an old lady. And after my mom passed, we noticed she was always, looking for my mom. If she was up here with me, she'd be standing in the doorway looking at my mom's door. Or if we were in the kitchen, she'd be looking up the steps, when is Grandmom coming down the steps? That was heartbreaking. And she started, I noticed she started, picking her up. And, she only had one eye, so I had to carry her. In the beginning, she would go down the steps, but she couldn't come up. And then she stopped going down, so I had to carry her up and down the steps, which was no big deal. And then I noticed at one point, probably during the summer last year, that she felt lighter to me. So I was like, okay, we're getting on the scale. Let's go. And I noticed like a pound or two difference. Well, you know, she's a tiny dog, so a pound or two makes a big difference. And I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye on that. And I'm like, no big deal. I mean, she was still eating, still drinking water, still wanting treats, and still, you know, doing normal, you know, normal Patches stuff. And then as like September, October rolled around, like we started to notice more weight loss. Like you could start to see, she was very muscular. Patches, if she was like going to confront Oreo, like, Oreo, get out of my food, and or she would like puff up her chest and stand there, and her neck, she was all muscle, Patches. Like you could just see her neck spread, and I was like, whoa. But she was not mean. She just was like, yo, back off. I'm the alpha. Until I taught Patches that I'm the alpha, you're not. And we noticed like her neck, petting her, like, ooh, her neck feels thinner, like a lot of muscle loss, and got her on the scale again, and I was like, uh-oh, like she's lost a couple more pounds. And then, you know, like Thanksgiving was coming around, and she just was weak. I mean, she was still eating at that point, pre-Thanksgiving. It was starting to become a battle. Like we were feeding her by syringe, and went to my sister's on Thanksgiving, and my sister was hand feeding her like white turkey meat and stuff like that, and dark meat. She loved that kind of stuff. And I'm like, keep on giving it to her, because she has not really, she's being too picky about what she wants to eat. And we're feeding her with a syringe and all kinds of stuff, pureeing food and getting it in her system. And that was the last thing she ate, was on Thanksgiving. She had turkey from her aunt. And after that, you know, she just didn't want food. We tried giving her food by the syringe again, you know, after, and it just was like, oh my God, like this is so much work. But, you know, like I wanted her to get some nutrients, some protein in her system. She was always still drinking water and going out and going to the bathroom and things like that. And towards the end of November, I was just like, you know, I'm going to call the vet, and had a couple conversations with the vet. And he's like, don't force feed her. Like she's coming to the end of her life. And, you know, don't do that. That's just cruel at that point. And I was like, okay. You know, like I thought, you know, at least get something in her system. And he's like, it's not going to help her. I told him how much she weighed, and I think she was just barely 10 pounds. And I think she was 16 pounds at one point. So she lost 6 pounds. That's a lot of weight for a small dog. Oreo, I think, is 12 pounds. She always was smaller than Patches. Taller and lengthwise, they were about the same, but Oreo is way too active. I don't think she'll ever gain a pound. And, you know, then it was, you know, she just really wasn't moving around too much. She couldn't, like, jump down off of stuff. You know, I had to pick her down, you know, put her on the floor to go get a drink. And, you know, towards the end, I had to get, you know, diapers and things like that, because I was like, I'm not cleaning up messes all over the place. And, you know, she no longer was going to, you know, having bowel movements or anything like that. It was because she wasn't eating anything, but she was still drinking plenty of water. And she just, you know, she would come, and she never let you, like, put her on your lap and, like, hold her like that, like a baby almost. Never. She just would squirm, get away. She would lay on your lap if you made her, but she would always lay beside you. She never would, like, lay on you. And, like, towards the end there, I would pick her up and just hold her, and she would just lay and put her head down and just wanted to be loved. And, you know, or I'd lay her on my lap. And, you know, she would just stay there. She would not. And, you know, when she was done, she would get up and, you know, go lay next to me and stuff like that. And then, you know, bedtime, you know, she would just lay in one spot, not really move around too much. And finally, you know, I gave her a week and said, if you go on your own, that's fine. If by the end of the week you have not crossed the Rainbow Bridge, then I'm going to have to take her and put her down. And then the Thursday night, I noticed that her breathing started to change a little bit. Like it was like she was starting to struggle a little bit. And I said, no, I'm not going to have her struggle or suffer, or, you know. And at that point, you know, the vet assured me she probably was fine, because she was, you know, there was no moaning or whimpering or like walking and feeling like she was hurt. And she was still pretty much herself, just a weakened version. And I had to call that Friday morning and say, look, you know, it's time. And I had to put her down, you know. So it was just like a lot. But I still have Miss Oreo. She's, you know, she's a sweetheart. She keeps me busy. She's always by my side. 24/7. Whether, you know, in the shower, she'll stay put when I'm in the shower, but like if I'm up and down, she's like right behind me. I'm like, all of a sudden I'm turning around, I'm like, there she is. I'm like, whoa, where'd you come from? Like, she won't just stay in one spot and just chill out. Where Patches would do that. She would just go in our back office. She had a bed back there, and she would just go in the back office. It was dark. It was cool. She would just go lay in her bed, and I'd be like, well, where's Patches at? It's time to go outside. And she'd be sound asleep on her bed. She didn't care. She didn't want anybody bothering her. Where Oreo has never been like that. She's got to be with you, with you, with you. And I said this earlier, like, she's my emotional support dog, even though that's not true, but I'm her emotional support human. She's a handful, but I love her to death. She's a sweetheart. Wouldn't change it. I'm glad I had the opportunity to rescue her and give her a good home too. So hopefully she's got a few more years in her, because I don't think I could take any more. So I guess that's really, everything in a nutshell. I'm still trying my best with YouTube and, trying to grow the channel. I don't know what's going to happen, honestly, with it. I mean, it seems like it's stuck again. It's not moving. I just don't know. If you guys have any suggestions, things you would like me to see, like me to look at, any other boxes or things you would like to see, just let me know. And I'll see what I can do, like, certain things are just I'm not set up to do. I'm not a cooking channel. I do like some lifestyle boxes and mainly beauty boxes and some reviews. But to do like cooking video, no, that kind of stuff I'm never going to film. I mean, I cook every day. I bake breads and do all that kind of stuff. I'm just never going to do any of that on YouTube here. Because it would throw off the niche, and it just would throw off the algorithm at this point. So, but I'm open to any ideas you have, and I appreciate you watching part 1 and part 2 of this, and I'll catch you all in my next normal video. Bye for now.